Please welcome Art the Clown.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Burns Reviews. My name is John, and today we are breaking down the most mysterious element within Terrifier 2,
The Clown Cafe.
But before we begin, if you could, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. It really does help the channel a lot. And without any further ado, let's get into it. And I apologize if that song gets stuck in your head, but admit it, it's not a bad song, is it?
You're right. You're right about everything.
That's right about you, too. They used me to get you here. They need you in this place for a reason. It's what Daddy saw. I think you're the only one who can stop him.
Why?
I don't know.
I like to think that this is a story about Jonathan, and how he's always playing D&D. But then his abusive father, an artist, commits suicide. This drives Jonathan insane. Jonathan is delusional. Hardcore, just starts killing people as Art the Clown. It would certainly explain why he's got that giant-sized costume of Art the Clown on the back of his door that looks way too big for him, but I'm sure that was just a, miscalculation. But again, I like this theory a lot. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about the Clown Cafe. So let's go back, shall we? What did Jonathan mean here? Why did they have to be lured into the Terrifier, lured below into the crypt, into the Hell Portal, and into the Clown Cafe, where that song will play over and over and over and over. And eventually you don't know if you love it or hate it, but it will be stuck in your head for as long as you live. Usually. So what is the Clown Cafe? Let's recap a little bit, shall we? Sienna Shaw is a girl suffering from trauma and anxiety after the unexpected death of her father. It's implied that her father is pretty abusive towards the end, but they don't really get into it too much. Her younger brother Jonathan has a notebook that the father left behind. In it has sketches of Art the Clown, murder scenes from the first Terrifier, and some mythological imagery which may or may not be heavy foreshadowing of Sienna on her hero's journey down the road.
Jonathan, you're acting crazy.
Meanwhile, the pale girl resurrects Art the Clown, and she is now leading Art to off Sienna's friends and family to break her down. She's an evil apparition, an entity, which really just means that she's a ninth circle demon. Possibly Satan himself, using Art to do her bidding. But as the prophecy of the movie has dictated, Sienna is going to be the yin to his yang, and she's going to cut his head off, which she does. It's a nice New Hope kind of ending, because much as you know, there are 2 more of these movies coming, and if I had to guess, the next movie's gonna end on a bit of a downer, much like, part 2 of that trilogy. The heroes will probably fail in part 3, and then in 4, they'll probably kill off everyone. To keep the force balanced, right? And I don't think you can have Art the Clown without Sienna, or vice versa. They're counterweights to each other. I'm talking Neo and Smith, Batman and the Joker. These 2 really can't exist without the other. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a bad spin-off eventually down the road when we run out of IPs to bring into legacy sequels, and Sienna may or may not be in it depending on where that actress is at that time, depending on where David Howard Thornton is at that time. And I don't really want to think about that because it sounds kind of depressing, but we're just talking about the sweet spot that we're living through right now. Honestly, I don't know if it's ever going to get any better than Terrifier 2, but right now we're in the sweet spot of we have an artist, no pun intended, in Damien Leone, who decided that he's going to tell a story with 3 movies, technically 4, and it's going to be a very tight narrative that we really don't get, not only in horror, but in cinema at all these days. So, enjoy the ride. These are our movies. I love it. With that said, what is the Clown Cafe? The Clown Cafe isn't just a nightmare. It's not just a weird pocket universe filled with Sienna's fears, her own personal hell. I mean, it is those things, but beyond that, Damien Leone has said that the Clown Cafe is actually a divine test. To see who will be the savior, the one who will defeat Art the Clown. Essentially, the moment you see Sienna reach into those Art Krispies, and there's razor blades and glass, it's at that moment that the entities for good, who are also there, probably there as the priest, or the nun, sorry, and the homeless guy, I'm pretty sure that's them in disguise. It's at that moment that she and the sword become baptized, anointed, and they have a little bit of power that's given to them from the powers of good so that they can vanquish Art the Clown later in the film. She is now worthy. and she could probably also pick up Thor's hammer if she wanted to and beat the shit out of Thanos, but that's a different theory for a different time. But just to be clear, the Clown Cafe, if you really want to break it down to the most simplistic terms, it is an Anointed One simulator. Think of it as like a video game where you have like a tutorial before the game. It's not really the game, it just gets you ready for it. Leone said that she also had to die and be resurrected, just like Neo, just like Jesus, because only then is she able to be supernatural just like Art the Clown and kill him. What I love about the Clown Cafe is that there's a lot of subtlety here without anything being arbitrary. The pilot and the passengers represent Sienna's wings and her fears and anxieties. The kids on the swings that eat up all the candy are more than likely the same demons from All Hallows Eve, as we've seen with the little pale girl. Demons can easily change their appearance without ever having to show their true form. I think here they're using the same form of their victims, again, just like the pale girl, Emily Crane. The nun and homeless guy represent the entities for good. If you notice, they're using food as a metaphor for morality. Food's a little funny in the Clown Cafe. However, as these kids are eating it up, look at what Art is serving, a big black heart. Luckily, Sienna does not eat it. Meanwhile, you have the nun pleading with Sienna not to eat the poison apple, which could be an Adam and Eve metaphor, but essentially, don't drink the Kool-Aid, don't be like them. Be virtuous, and be the savior of others. You have the kid eating the cereal, which I hate to say might be some foreshadowing that Jonathan is going to die at some point in this franchise, and if nothing else, it's a warning that Sienna has to look out for her brother because, as we know, Art the Clown is coming. The Tommy gun that Art pulls is from the movie she falls asleep to. The cereal box we see is the same one that she picks up earlier. So the Clown Cafe is a really interesting place. It's kind of like an audition if you think about it, and Sienna clearly did pass. It is interesting because Leone said that Art has to kill her and trap her in the Clown Cafe. That he has to get her to the Terrifier, get her to the crypt, and then finally into the Hell Portal, or often called the Grave. Another fun fact is that Art the Clown does stab her with her own sword, and Damien said that there's some kind of a rule where he can't actually kill her with her own weapon, which is interesting. Again, it feels like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of rule. It doesn't really feel like a real thing. It feels like somebody's playing a game, a board game, and maybe they just lost their mind and were watching the inside of their head. I don't know. It's odd to have these very specific rules that really don't apply in a real reality of any kind. I mean, why do we have these board game kind of rules? They're not really spelled out. Are we playing Jumanji? I love it, but I want it fleshed out more without it being lame. Regardless, there are very specific rules that both Art and Sienna have for one another in which how they can kill and vanquish each other. So once he has her in the crypt, he now has to throw her into the grave, which he also calls the Hell Portal, because it's the only place where Art can trap her soul. So we're trapping souls now.
They're not special. They're starving.
You didn't think I'd risk the fight for Gotham's soul in a fist fight with you, did you? It's hard not to think of that line when you know Damien based these characters directly on Batman and the Joker, which I love. It works really well. I love what big, iconic, heavy hitters these characters both are. But yeah, with these rules on killing, it does feel like a board game such as D&D. That Jonathan Crazy theory is looking better and better, isn't it? Damien even noted that in the end, when she's in the water tank, her drowning is meant to be reflective of her anxiety attacks, which, you know, she can't breathe, she can't do anything. And if nothing else, it's a terrifying environment that goes against the rules of physics. Art is horrifying, and honestly, it's a bit creepier before I started theorizing what these characters represented. Dreams are usually bizarre, they often don't make sense, but overall, dreams are usually telling you something. Also, I have questions about how the host of the Clown Cafe is the same actress who plays the orderly with Jericho in the end. I mean, she's humming her own song, but if she's a victim and then she dies after she's in the Clown Cafe earlier in the movie, then we're also dealing with some type of time paradox, which is another fun thing, another David Lynch thing that you might see on Twin Peaks or something like that. And I don't hate it. I think the more mysterious and mythological it is, and the less answers you usually have, the better. There was a point, like somewhere between 2 years ago and now, where I was like, do I really want to try to reach out to everybody involved in this movie, interview them, try to see if I can get any little golden nuggets of info about like what the lore of this is? But then I really just stopped and went, I don't really want to know more beyond what Damien and the rest of the people who are making these movies are putting out there publicly. Like, if it's on the DVD commentary, great, but I don't want to be the guy who ruins it too early, if that makes any sense. But it's a lot of fun to theorize, isn't it? Once you know the cat's out of the bag, it's not really fun anymore. So, yeah. What we know is that it's not very likely she survives what follows in this scene, so perhaps we have a demon taking her form as well. Maybe if we're lucky we'll get a Jericho demon someday too, but that's all there really is to say about the Clown Cafe. It's super catchy. Just makes you want to slash that thumbs up button. Until next time guys, thank you so much for watching. I have been John here on Burns Reviews. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up. Comment down below. I want to hear your wildest theory about the Clown Cafe. I imagine it's going to keep popping up throughout the franchise. There's no way we're done with it. Be sure to comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. I have been John, and I will see you next time.
Drop on by the Clown Cafe. Drop on by the Clown Cafe. The grub is downright gruesome, but your appetite's obey. 'Cause food's a little funny.